Alright, I thought this could be a fun idea for a video. This is going to be the NFL tier list of teams through 3 weeks. How I view these teams just 3 weeks into the season. The teams, we know how tier lists work. We can get into it. Apologies for still not having any kind of studio set up here. Still working on moving. It's a very long process. Hopefully before too long, for the next couple of weeks or so, I will have something at least decent set up. But for now, let's get into the tier list. Starting off with the Tennessee Titans, who are currently 1-2 and have had some tough losses on their schedule, on their record right now. They're not a D tier for me at all. I'm trying to figure out exactly where I want to put these tiers. I'm thinking S tier is going to be like the elite teams, A tier teams that if they get hot in the right moments could be a Super Bowl winner, B more of like the playoff caliber team, C not playoff but not terrible either, which is where I think the Titans as of right now are for me. The Dolphins are S tier for me. I mean, their offense has been incredible. Still want to see more from their defense, but they are getting Jalen Ramsey back, so I'm not overly concerned. And again, they scored 70 points last week. The defense was in a unique scenario. Last week was an anomaly. They deserve to be S tier. I think the Jets are D tier right now. Their offense has just been abysmal, and their defense is good, but I think that in today's NFL, a really good defense and a really bad offense gives you D tier. Like, you need to have at least a decent offense to succeed. The Bengals, this might be a hot take. I'm still putting them in A tier. I know that they've had a rough start, and we don't know what we're going to get from Joe Burrow's health, and I think that's, to me, the biggest concern. It's just what are we going to do with that? But as of right now, I don't know if I can knock them too much, because I do trust them to get it together. They have a history of starting slow. I'm not going to panic necessarily. The Cleveland Browns are the next team on this list. I am going to be giving them I think I'm still going to go A tier. I'm actually in between A and B tier because I still want to see more from this offense. Like, Deshaun Watson finally had a good game for once for Cleveland. I would say that's probably his first game that I was actually impressed with him in a Cleveland uniform, which is nice to see if you're a Browns fan. I still think there's some issues with this Browns offense. The defense looks incredible, though. To me, I am someone who believes that offense wins championships at this point. I don't know if I can put them in S tier until that offense looks better. But if Deshaun Watson can be Houston Deshaun Watson again, they can go up to S tier. But if last week was an anomaly and he sucks, then they're not even A tier. So we'll see how that goes. The Jaguars have been underwhelming through 3 weeks. They are currently, only one win on their record, 1-2, which is unfortunate. I thought they played Kansas City pretty well, just weren't able to capitalize when they needed to. The loss last week to Houston was just a tough one, and there was some flukiness to it, like that, a fullback kickoff return touchdown. Okay, yeah, that's a bit of an anomaly. That doesn't happen too frequently. They still lost by a decent amount, though. I mean, they still need to keep those games more competitive. Calvin Ridley needs to remember to catch. I think they will, though. I think they'll get it together. My whole thing with Jacksonville has been, I'm not going to put them in A or S tier until I see them play that caliber, which I just haven't seen. I think they could, but I haven't seen it yet. And for the Lions, I think I'm kind of also going to put the Lions there. Now, they play tonight. We'll see. Maybe they have a dominant performance tonight and are able to, get it done. I still feel like, I want to see it. I just want to see them play like the championship contender. Like I said, B tier to me is playoff caliber team. That's what the Lions look like right now. I think they have potential for better. This defense, I think as the season progresses, could get better and better. Mosley should be back now. That should help out their secondary. But for now, I'm just going B tier. The Vikings, you could almost talk me into D tier. I won't. I'll say C tier because they still have Justin Jefferson. They still have Kirk Cousins. There's still talent on that offense, mostly those two guys. And I think some, Jordan Addison's come in and played well. I like TJ Hawkinson. So talent on offense. Their defense is just so bad, and their offense isn't consistent enough across the board. Like, they don't have the depth down, in my opinion. I kind of think I have to put them here. Next up is my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I want my heart says B tier. I think I'm going to probably put them in C tier. I just think that, I don't know, they're in between there. They're C plus or B minus tier for me because I don't know if I fully am buying into them being a playoff team just because of how the offense, Godwin and Mike Evans are really going to have to kind of do a lot. And I liked what I've seen from Baker through 3 weeks, but there's just, there's some issues here on the Buccaneers offense. They did not look great against Philadelphia. Philadelphia. That being said, defense I still think is good, but now to have those corner issues, that's also dropping them. I think, if the corners get healthy, I'll bump them up to B tier. For now, I think C tier feels fair. San Francisco, S tier. Kind of obvious. Of course they're S tier. Like, I don't even know how we would, argue the contrary. Brock Purdy's looking awesome. The offense is looking awesome. The defense is looking awesome. The Atlanta Falcons are also going to be C tier as they, did not have their best day rushing the football against Detroit. They need to consistently run the football to win. I think Ritter has kind of shown if he has to drop back and just beat a guy, not really what you want to see out of him. He did not have a great game. While I think the Falcons' defense is good, I think it has some holes in there as well, which is why I'm going to keep it at the C tier for now. Could get to B tier as the season progresses, though. The Baltimore Ravens. I think I'm going to keep going with A tier. I guess that's just the AFC North tier, because so far, all three teams that are there are AFC North teams. I still like the Ravens. I still think their offense is good with Lamar Jackson. I know they had a bad week against the Colts. I'm not freaking out over one bad week. I'm just not. There is some concerns about the passing game still, which just seems like to always be the case with Baltimore. I still think their defense is very good, though. Their defense has actually been great. So A tier feels good. The Bears are obviously D tier. I don't know what's going on there. How do we even talk about, what's there to talk about? D tier, moving on. The Cowboys, I'm going to put them in B tier. I'm sorry, I can't put them in A tier. Before the Trayvon Diggs injury, they would have been A tier for sure. Maybe you could even argue S tier, but it's just like, I don't love some of these parts. Like, I think there's secondary concerns now, because I already didn't love their depth. I like their starters, but didn't love their depth. Losing a key starter, I think, really hurts that defense and makes it human. I think that the offense can be good at times, but I still kind of worry about these secondary receivers. They haven't really, Brandon Cooks has not done what they wanted him to do, so I don't know if I put them on the same tier as those A tier teams. I just don't. I think that they're a playoff team right now, and that's it. The Texans, entering the year, I would have given them D tier. They're not D tier. They're C tier. They've jumped up a spot. Good job by Houston. As I've liked what I've seen. CJ Stroud's looked great. I think this defense has looked surprisingly competent. Tank Dell's looked really good. Like, they have some pieces. I don't know if I'm willing to say they're a playoff caliber team just yet, but I'm not willing to say they for sure aren't either, given what I've seen so far. And kind of, Colts, I think kind of same thing of like, again, I'm sure Texans and Colts fans will want to be B tier. It's weird how, no matter what video I make, the tier list, those two always end up in the same tier. I don't know what it is. Even when one jumps a tier, the other one does as well. Colts defense looked very good. Offensive line has looked very good so far. Gardner Minshew solid. I think Anthony Richardson makes some plays and will make some mistakes when he's out there. I don't know. They're a fun team. There's still some holes on this roster for sure. I think the receiving core is, I don't want to say a mess because I like Michael Pittman. I think Alec Pierce can do some stuff, but it's not going great so far in the receiving core. But there's things to like about Indianapolis. So C tier feels right. And for the Rams, I think I'm also going to go C tier. Maybe they could get up to B tier, for sure. They have been in several games against really good football teams, but you have to win those games too. They did beat Seattle, which was a big win for them, because that's not I don't think that's an easy win. But at the same time, there still are some, I just think there's a lot of young players who are getting asked to do a lot right now for the Rams, and I don't know if this is the year they're going to be able to turn that into playoff success. Next up is everyone's favorite team to mock, it seems like, the Los Angeles Chargers. I guess a hot take, I'm still putting them in B tier. I know their defenses look terrible. I know Brandon Staley makes weird calls. I get it. This offense, they still have Justin Herbert, who's amazing. They still have really good offensive players. Some of them are injured, but it's an offensive league, and I still have some faith that some of these Chargers defenders can take a step up, because like a lot of these players are having worse years than it did last year. I'm going to still have hope that they can kind of turn that around a little bit. Like, we all know, the J.C. Jackson, the Khalil Mack, that kind of stuff hasn't fully worked out, but I don't know. You could talk me into C tier for sure, because they are, you could argue them and Minnesota are similar. I just think the Chargers have more firepower on offense, so I'm going with them. That's how I view it. The Raiders, are they D tier? I don't know, because I feel like C tier is a team that I think that could still make the playoffs. I just am not betting on it. I think D tier is like, you're not making the playoffs. There needs to be another tier. They need to be, Jets and Bears are F tier, Raiders are D tier, but for now, I gotta put them there. I'm sorry, Raiders Nation, I love you, but I just can't put them higher than this. Their defense has just not looked good at all. Jimmy Garoppolo has not, I think, done what they were hoping he would do so far through 3 weeks. Devontae Adams is incredible, and he's what makes me consider putting them in C tier alone. They have they have stars. Like, they legitimately have a core. They just don't have the talent around that core. So, for now, a D tier team for me. Washington, who... I'm in between C tier and B tier with Washington. I really am, because you could argue either one. I think at the end of the day, it's a quarterback-driven league. Sam Howell was terrible last week. Maybe that's just one performance, but at the same time, he only had 3 other performances to get hype around him. He only had 1 performance entering this season, and they decided to make him the starter. So, while there's things nice about him, I just feel like I just don't trust them to win the big games, and because of that, I think that'll kind of stop them short of a postseason berth, potentially, even though love the defensive line, have a ton of depth. I like their depth a lot across the board, really good receivers. I don't know. Chiefs, S tier, obviously. Got Patrick Mahomes, you're probably going to be S tier. The Saints, I'm going B tier for the Saints. Now, the Derek Carr injury hurts. I don't know how long he's going to be out. Maybe, that'll be announced before this video is released. I don't know. As of right now, though, it doesn't seem like the Derek Carr injury is a long-term thing, at least, so I'm not factoring that in too much. I do think Carr has been a bit underwhelming through 3 weeks, but I still trust him to turn it around. Receiving core is really good. This defense looks awesome. As long as they don't have to throw a backup quarterback in who wasn't prepared to play in the fourth quarter. Obviously, that Packers game sucks for them, but I still think they're a good team. I think they're a playoff caliber team. The Giants... I'm sorry, Giants fans. I am. I don't get it. I've never gotten it. I didn't get it last year, and you guys made the playoffs. So maybe I'll be wrong again. I'm not trying. I don't have any personal beef with the Giants. I really don't. I get what Giants fans think I do. It's just I don't trust the construct of the team the way that they're constructed. That's just how I view it. Again, I could be wrong, but that's where I'm at right now. The Eagles. I'm going to keep the Eagles in S tier. I really am. I think the Eagles have been really good through 3 weeks. That's not true. The Eagles, outside of Jalen Hurts, have been really good through 3 weeks. Hurts has not looked like himself. That's just true. He has not been as dominant as he was last year. There's no denying that. So that's kind of something that you do have to look at, and that's maybe what you could do to argue A tier. I think he's going to turn it around. I'm going to keep it at S tier. The Steelers, again, sorry Steelers fans. I like you guys. C tier is where it's at right now for me, though. I just don't know if I trust the Steelers enough to say, oh yeah, they're for sure a playoff team. And just looking at the numbers, I'm not sure if I'm going to have 14 teams in S tier, or in S, A, or B tier. So because of that, maybe you'll still get in. Although maybe I will actually. There's things I like. Kenny Pickett has to step it up. I think he could for sure. He has to step it up. The running game I still don't love for Pittsburgh, and I'm still. While the defense looks very good, I still kind of wonder if a really good passing attack could, move the ball effectively. So, Broncos, speaking of move the ball effectively, they actually did do that, but they let other teams really do that against them. The defense has been terrible, and the offense has not been bad, but it just hasn't been good enough to make up for that. So, D tier for now. The Packers, kind of putting them in B tier. I think so. I think that, Jordan Love looks solid. He's been inconsistent, but he's looked solid. They're getting Christian Watson back. That should certainly help. The offense has done enough. Defense has looked pretty solid. I don't know. They just feel they can make the playoffs for sure. Next up is the Panthers, who I have to put in D tier. Defense has, I think, been a little underwhelming this year. The receiving core is exactly what we were concerned it could be entering this season, and on top of it, Bryce Young hasn't looked great to start the year. I'm not sure what young quarterback would look great in that situation. But I still think that there's some issues there offensively. So, at the same time, though, it's this was not supposed to be this is the rebuilding year for Carolina. You get it. Next up is the Arizona Cardinals. I'm sorry, Cardinals fans. You're D tier. I mean, again, the way I evaluate it is C tier are the teams that I'm like, yeah, I could see you making the playoffs. I don't think you're going to, but I could see it. D, I don't see it with Arizona. They played very well through 3 weeks. They're running the ball effectively. I just think this is the rebuilding year. Maybe if Kyler comes back, maybe I'll bump them up. for sure. But as of right now, I still think that I still think the secondary has at times just given up wide open gaps for people to play, through. They have some good coaches, it seems like, but so far that and a good running game doesn't give you enough to bump you up to C tier, even though it was, got the Giants into the playoffs last year. But so we'll see. But Bills here, I almost want to go with a scorching hot take and go with S tier. So why not? Put in the Bills in S tier. Let's let everyone get mad at me potentially in the comments. Listen, I get it. Week 1 was a disaster for Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a good quarterback. He had a bad week. That's what I think happened. I could be wrong. If you believe that Josh Allen sucks, then okay, we'll have a different conversation. But this defense has looked awesome. The Josh Allen has looked awesome after week 1. There's still some issues offensively, but I still think this is going to be a really good offense and a really good defense, and they're going to be one of the teams towards the end of the year competing for a Super Bowl. That's what I think is going to happen. So yeah, I'm putting them in S tier. Seahawks, I'll put the Seahawks in B tier. Why not? I think that I know that the defense has had some issues, but the Seahawks have a history of having some disappointing starts to the year defensively and getting better. Witherspoon, since coming in, has looked pretty good, so I'm not overly concerned, although they have been underwhelming to start the year. And finally, the Patriots, I'm putting them in C tier. It's just the offense is just not good enough. Their defense is good enough. The defense looks awesome, but the offense just, they can't push the ball down the field. And when you have to run 12-play drives, it's just tough. So yeah, that's how we do it. So what we have 5 S tier teams. 3 of the S tier teams are in the AFC, and all 3 of the teams in the A tier are in the AFC North. Interesting how that worked out. So AFC North teams are represented nicely there, as you have interestingly, out of the top 8 teams, 6 of them in the AFC. AFC does look very tough. Although, good chunk of NFC teams in the B tier. So there's another, 7 teams there. So those are 15 teams in top 3 tiers. So that feels about right? Those are the playoff caliber teams. Not all these would make it because only 14 make the playoffs, but still around there. This is just kind of where I feel after 3 weeks, but things will change, of course. These are just my opinions on where I think these teams are at. But yeah, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.